So it's been a while since I made that video on the WNBA players, Skylar Diggins taking a shot at Harrison Barnes and also LeBron James. And now there's been more information and rumors coming out. Obviously, the WNBA players have officially agreed to get out of their CBA deal. So by 2021 is when they are opting out, so they can renegotiate and see if they can get closer to that revenue split that they want. In terms of right now, I believe it's estimated at 22%, because right now the WNBA has released no information on any of their numbers. The only thing I think they've released is revenue, but they haven't released the profit. They haven't released other kind of stuff that is kind of needed to see what the league is looking like. Yeah. So in your opinion, Peter, I know that we haven't talked about this together in a video. What do you think about this whole WNBA versus NBA? Maybe not versus NBA, but what it seems like is the WNBA players want to get paid more.
I don't know, man. This is such a crazy situation, right? And we were just listening to an interview, just a video, I should say, and they're kind of talking about the more profit side of the deal, right? And the margins, and saying like the WNBA as a whole has not necessarily ever made a profit.
No, since their existence, and I believe it was 97, I think the league started. So
the biggest problem with contract renegotiations is you have to be, and I don't mean this any negative way against women, but my point is this: you have to be worth a pay raise, right? And if you don't bring in a profit, let's say in my job, as you know, I work in a restaurant. If I don't make more money for the restaurant, they're never going to give me more money, because it doesn't make sense to increase my pay, because the return is not yet there, right? So I mean, and you did say, I think it is at this point kind of becoming WNBA versus the NBA. Like some of these, you know, female athletes coming out and dissing like Harrison Barnes, right? The whole Skylar Diggins, Harrison Barnes thing, where she's saying he's trash, right? And that he makes $30 million a year and she makes $200,000, right? Yeah. The biggest problem with that is the fact that Harrison Barnes, even not, like, he's a solid role player on a decent team, right? Yeah. He might get paid more than what she does by 300 times, but the problem is the Dallas Mavericks make money, and they always will make money, because the NBA is such an incredible, popular sports league. The WNBA is not, and that's the biggest problem. And a lot of the discussion is, you know, you were telling me, is like maybe they should go to smaller locations, right? Maybe smaller venues to support their business, right? And that is a great idea, because why would they play in, for example, the Seattle Storm plays in Key Arena, which is where the Seattle Sonics used to play. If the Seattle Sonics were still here, hypothetically, there is not nearly the same margin of viewers for the Sonics that there is for the Storm, right? And I said that backwards, but even if the Storm or the Sonics came back tomorrow, 10 times more people are already watching them than the Storm would be. Maybe even 100 times, you know? Yeah.
I think what this all comes down to, I know that there's a couple of teams that are going to be moving to smaller venues. I know the Washington Mystics are going to move to a smaller venue. They're not going to be playing at Verizon Center. We know that the Liberty of New York, they're not going to be playing in Madison Square Garden. To me, what it just boils down to is I wish that they could get paid more. I want to see everybody eat, is the term I like to use.
Yeah, that's the perfect world scenario.
But the problem is that it's an entertainment type of thing, and you are paid what you're worth. And that's kind of the problem. And I think a lot of, you know, people are not seeing it that way. You know, I don't want to be, you know, negative or harsh, but that's just the sad reality of it. If you're not worth what people are trying to pay for, they're not going to come. The attendance isn't nearly the same as it is in an NBA game. Yeah. It's not even the same as like an MLB game or an MLS game. I mean, those games get a lot of people going to them. So I think the WNBA is kind of missing the point. And I do think that it's good that they're going to opt out, so maybe they could get maybe not the revenue or the profit type of situation going, but maybe there's something else they want to negotiate. So I think that's a good thing, because it's always better to negotiate, see what else is out there. But I think Mark Tatum, who's the interim commissioner, I would say, for the WNBA, I think he's doing a solid job. He's providing the numbers, he's providing the information to these women, but the women are kind of saying that, well, we haven't gotten the numbers yet, it's confidentiality type of thing. Definitely. But they've gotten all of it. They have all the information out there. I don't think you know, Adam Silver is and Mark Tatum, they're good people, they're good friends. So I don't think that Mark Tatum would be shady about not showing the numbers.
Yeah.
And in the end, the NBA is helping out this investment. They're giving them $12 million, I believe it was, or $10 million. So they're doing their job because they're seeing this league and they're investing in it because they believe in these women. So I've talked about this numerous times in my other video. It's all about how you market yourself, because I think the marketing team for the WNBA is doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else they could do, really.
Well, the two biggest problems, and you mentioned it, and I think it's perfect, is at the end of the day, sports is entertainment.
Yeah.
And we live in a society and just world where media is at an all-time, like, glutton, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much stuff to watch. And especially in the sports world, now the NBA is a 365-day-a-year sport. Everybody is watching or talking about the NBA all the time. So, like myself in particular, I don't watch any WNBA because not only am I not particularly interested in it, but I don't have the time to watch WNBA. I don't necessarily have the time to get invested in a new sport. Like, it's not a new sport, but it almost, I mean, it essentially,
a new
league, right? It's the same way I don't watch really the Big Three or any sort of other men's sports league or basketball league. I don't have the time for it because I already invest so much time in the NBA, in other sports and just other media, that I don't really have the time. On top of that, like, it is media, and like, if you put it in terms of musicians, right? If Denzel Curry puts just as much time in the studio as Drake does, it doesn't amount to as much money, right? He can go on tour all year long and he could work even harder than Drake, but Drake is just bigger and he makes more money, right? More people listen to him than any person else on the planet or in the genre.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they were talking in the same video that we're mentioning about how they could go to Europe and sign for 10 times more, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's just, the European system pays a lot more for the women basketball than it does here. And I think a lot of women, I think that they should take the opportunity because it's more money. Although it's maybe not an area or a place you're comfortable with, there's a lot of people that move to different places so they can earn that money. And I think that's, I'm not saying that, you know, we want all the women to move away to make their money. Obviously, I want people here to play the WNBA because I think it eventually can be a profitable league and it can be a popular league. It just has to be a lot of marketing that has to go into it. And also, I talked about this in this video, and I don't know if this is kind of harsh, but a lot of women don't support the WNBA, at least in my opinion from what I've seen. Like, I don't see Nicki Minaj wearing a WNBA jersey. I don't see Beyonce wearing a WNBA jersey, like a Skylar Diggins or a Candace Parker jersey. Yeah. I don't see it. And I think that's kind of the problem, is that when other women are also not entertained by your product as well, then it's a big turnoff for everybody. And I think the one thing I got frustrated with in that video, and I probably lashed out a little bit harder than I should have, is the fact that these NBA players are actually promoting your game. I've seen Devin Booker say, wow, you should check out this Phoenix Mercury game. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, or like some NBA players will like retweet like highlight clips. Like, I've seen that before too.
Yeah.
I mean, all in all, like the problem is just like there's so many things going against them that it almost seems like insurmountable at this current time for them to even try and get a new contract. And I think that like these women, it sounds like we're just out here bashing these women, but like a lot of it is on them too, right? Because at the same time, they have to make themselves marketable. As sports athletes, the key to being successful is to market yourself. It's not all on the shoulders of the WNBA, which I agree with you. They don't do a very good job of marketing their brand or their league. But even in certain other places, right? Like in certain other sporting just avenues, right? Like, let's say martial arts. There are people who market themselves in a way that makes themselves desirable, and people search out their fights or their sporting content.
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing I would say is like Serena Williams. She does a great job, and she's one of the best tennis players, men or women, to watch. Like, if a Serena Williams match is on, I'm more than likely gonna watch.
And a lot of people I know don't care at all about tennis, let alone women's tennis, right? But I still know a lot of people who go out of their way to watch Serena Williams play, because not only does she have a great marketing team that promotes her, but then the sport itself promotes her.
Yeah.
There's not a woman in the NBA. I know a lot of WNBA players, but none of them do a very good job of marketing themselves or putting themselves out there to promote the league. And that's the biggest thing that the WNBA or the NBA has done in the last decade to make itself so much more popular and have such a big boom, is like the stars. It's the era of player empowerment. And in order to have an era of player empowerment, you need to give yourself power, right? That's the whole name, right? And a lot of these NBA players, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, they've done such a good job of taking the power from the NBA, and giving it to themselves. You know,
yeah.
Who in the WNBA has done that?
I mean, it's probably been a select handful of women that.
I mean, Candace Parker is like the best example, I would say, right? And I think she's been playing in like Russia at different times and playing in Europe and building her name worldwide. And so even she's not that big of a star.
Yeah, like Diana Taurasi also does the same thing. I mean, there's just a lot of these women that they have the potential to do that. I think a perfect example is Skylar Diggins. Mm-hmm. You know, and she has the perfect opportunity to kind of branch out and not only be just a WNBA player, but to be sort of a celebrity-esque. A lot of people want her in their commercials. I mean, I think she has the potential for that. Yeah. But she hasn't done a good job of doing that for herself, and also the WNBA hasn't done a good job of promoting her in that way. There's a lot of great women basketball players.
Definitely. I mean, Diana Taurasi could borderline. She could ball. Like, she's really good. You know?
It sucks because I know a lot of NBA Twitter kind of makes fun of the WNBA.
Yeah, it's not really fair.
Yeah, it's not fair for that sake. But they are really talented women, and I don't want to discredit any of them for the achievements that they have accomplished. WNBA champion, WNBA All-Stars. But like I said, it just comes down to how they're able to market themselves. I mean, look at a girl like Ronda Rousey. She was able to market herself, and look at where she's at right now.
Perfect example. She doesn't even compete in the sport that she originally competed in, and she's still the biggest female athlete on the planet, minus maybe Serena Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, my last like closing statement, and just like the thing I think that the WNBA fails at the most is I think that they make themselves deniable. You know, like they give people a reason not to like the WNBA a lot of times. Mm-hmm. You know, and the key to being a successful person and being a star in any facet of life is making yourself undeniable. You know, mm-hmm. There's a lot of NBA players who have gone out and done that, and I think, like you said, there are certain WNBA players who are doing a good job of trying to get there. But I think, like, and we never got a chance to talk about the Skylar Diggins thing, but I think, like, that, for example, that's not the way to do it. Yeah. That's a terrible way to do it. Coming out and dissing a guy who actually, Harrison Barnes earned his money. You know, he won a championship on a great team. Yeah. So coming out and dissing this guy because he makes more money than you is not the way to do it. It's a partnership. And, you know, people call the NBA a brotherhood. And now the WNBA should be considered a sisterhood, right? But why can't it all be like a big basketball family, right? Yeah. And that's the biggest key to success. And I think that there are certain women in the league who don't see that or just don't want to see that. And they just want to see bigger paychecks. And I understand that, because if you work hard, you want to get paid more. But you need to be in a position where nobody can deny you that money.
Exactly. And I think that's like the perfect closing argument, the perfect closing segment. It's just, if you want that money, you're going to have to market yourself better. And I think, like I said, the WNBA and the players need to do a better job with each other in terms of like actually making people stars. I think that's one thing that I think the MLB struggles with a little bit.
Terrible at it. Absolutely terrible at it, especially in the last decade. That's why the MLB is a dying sport, really.
Exactly. But that is going to be it for today's video, guys. What do you guys think of the whole WNBA situation? Do you guys agree that they should have opted out, or do you guys think that it's whatever? I would love to know your guys' opinion in the comments down below. But anyway, guys, this has been your boy Bernie along with Pete.
We love you. And just one more thing. This is not an indictment against the WNBA. It's more just like, you know, we're just trying to give opposing statements and trying to give our opinion how they could actually earn more money, you know? Yeah. Because I think some of that, especially for me, kind of came across as like I'm dissing on the WNBA. That's not my point. I'm just saying you have to earn your money, so to say. But, like Bernie said, we love you. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Peace.
Peace.